This is the 6th video from It Can Happen Here, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to protecting the personal freedoms guaranteed to Americans by the Bill of Rights. In these videos, we are exploring the claims that Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate in 2024, wants to be a fascist dictator and what fascism would mean for our individual freedoms. We have already discussed what fascism could mean to our First Amendment freedoms of speech, religion, and assembly, as well as to the Second Amendment's right to bear arms. We now turn to the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable searches, seizures of private property, and arbitrary arrests. In most circumstances, the Fourth Amendment requires the police to obtain a warrant from a judge before searches, seizures, or arrests. It also limits the government's ability to arbitrarily stop and frisk citizens and requires a warrant before police can conduct electronic surveillance. There are exceptions to the warrant requirement in the United States, but the courts evaluate the special circumstances excusing the need for a warrant in each case. U.S. courts have ruled that evidence obtained during an illegal search or seizure may not be used at the trial of the alleged criminal. Because this exclusionary rule might prevent the conviction of some criminals, it creates a strong incentive for the police to follow the law, including the requirement to obtain a search warrant. So would we expect an American fascist dictator to preserve our Fourth Amendment protections? Probably not. Instead, he would likely follow the example of dictators in other countries. The approach taken by the authoritarian government of Xi Jinping in China to searches and seizures may be the most instructive because of the prominent role of surveillance technology in China and the ready availability of similar technology in the United States. In China, search warrants and arrest warrants are supposed to be required much as they are in the United States. In China, however, the warrants are issued by the chief prosecutor or the local chief of police instead of by an independent judge, as we do in the United States. In addition, Chinese police often conduct searches without a warrant by claiming an emergency, such as the possibility that evidence of a crime might be concealed, destroyed, or transferred. Because Chinese police can issue search warrants themselves or just declare an emergency to avoid the bother, the warrant requirement in China is essentially meaningless. The unconstrained right of China's police to search and arrest civilians is especially broad when it comes to electronic devices, including smartphones and computers. In order to protect national security, which are just code words for suppression of political dissent, Chinese state security police can seize and examine private cell phones simply by presenting their police ID card. They do not need any indication that there has been an illegal or criminal act, but can seize anyone's mobile phone just to determine basic information about the suspect. Chinese police routinely track the location of potential dissidents by their smartphones and threaten the arrest of anyone found in public without their phone. Chinese security police also use facial recognition technology, enhanced by artificial intelligence and other tracking technologies, to monitor the movements and activities of citizens. Chinese companies have exported their surveillance products all over the world, including to the United States. Autocratic leaders have already used them to tighten their grip on power, as Yoweri Museveni did in Uganda with a system purchased from Huawei. Would an American autocrat behave differently? With many of the 332 million people in the United States already highly dependent on their 307 million mobile phones and the wide availability of location tracking, facial recognition, and other surveillance technology here in the U.S., an American dictator would be well positioned to transform the United States into a Chinese-style surveillance state. Please come back next time for our discussion about the 5 freedoms contained within the Fifth Amendment and how those freedoms would be treated by a fascist dictator. As we keep saying, fascism can happen here only if we don't stop it, and stop it we must.